wow, like that, from a defensive standpoint, from a goalkeeping standpoint, that looks great. But when I go back and look at the actions, like it's a very polarizing tournament where there's some low points where it's like, man, that's not the quality. But then you have these amazing saves where it's like, well, I don't not just because I wouldn't teach it to someone doesn't mean it's not a big time save. And
Right.
I'm gonna have to go update my top games by U.S. goalkeepers because like I think the Brazil game's got to be up in there. Like that's I don't know where I would slot it exactly, but it's got to be up there. But I think back to, man, and you mentioned here on the start here, but like with the Noonans of the world of the Molniks where they had a chance of like, hey, they got in like close, but how would they or the Murphys, the Campbells, like this looks great for Nair, but then like I feel like there's this idea that like no other goalkeeper can do that, but we have all these other goalkeepers and we've had them since day one, where very very good second strings, arguably better in some instances.
Right.
But I feel like Nair has reached this pinnacle of like, oh my goodness, she's this ungodly performer, and I'm like, man, like I struggle with that a lot because it's like when there are some clear errors. There's some high, the highs are high, the lows are low, but I feel
Right.
like
I mean, well, when you sit back and you look at that game, the goal against Germany, and we talked about it the other week, where it was you got to do better there. You can't get beat low across yourself, far post from that distance, and it's not upper 90. It's not dipping over you. You're too flat. You're too close to your line. You're out of position, and you don't get the footwork behind it. If you're in the correct position there, that's at the least a tip around the bar, right? Around the post. And so you can sit back and say, would a Campbell have gotten that, right? Or would a Murphy have gotten that? But then would a Murphy not have gotten the head ball in the end, or the redirected shot in the first half, at the end of the first half of the Brazil game? So I don't know if Murphy has the reaction time for that, but I know Campbell does. So I can say I'm pretty sure Campbell would have gotten that and probably gotten the other one, but I don't know. So you kind of ebb and flow with everybody
yeah,
here, like.
no, yeah, and I think that's where this is a tough thing because it's you don't know because you only have one chance, you have one goalkeeper to do this sort of stuff, and if we come out after and say, well, this goalkeeper could have also done it, like it just seems kind of tacky. If
There's so much more to it, Bill, and that's the problem. There's so much more. It's also instilling the confidence in your team, right? And so, Nair has the confidence and the trust of her team. And so regardless of the mistakes as goalkeeper analysts that we see, they don't see that. They see, hey, the ball got kept out of the net, or hey, okay, one goal, but she had 5 saves and stuff. So we're here to analyze goalkeeping, you guys. I understand there's a bigger picture here, and the bigger picture is that when you have the trust of the team and the faith of everybody, that speaks volumes as well as making saves does, because they're going to fight for you as well. So hats off to Nair. I think I sent her a DM. I think she had an excellent tournament. I really do. I think it's the best I've seen her play consistently. Because I think she's had some ebbs and flows in the NWSL, and now I'm interested to see how that translates, that mental state and that confidence translate back into Chicago, because she hasn't been playing that well. She's had some up and down games. It's been a rough first half of the season for AD. We talked about that. They're not exactly peaking at the top of the goalkeeper charts for the NWSL. But when you have somebody that's a gamer like that just won an Olympic gold, I'd love to see how she pulls off the rest of the season.
No, I think that's a fair question. I think it's going to be. I mean, that's an adrenaline drop of coming back from like gold medal. So like, I mean, there's nothing that matches that, right? I'll say this at the very least. I have no problem, and I don't know if they even released it to be honest, but I have no problem with Nair getting the Golden Glove. I don't know if they do that for the Olympics, if I'm being honest, but I have no problem.
No, they don't. They don't, because
well, if they were to give that out, because when I think back on the
she got player of the match, but that's a soccer thing. That's not a Olympic thing. Yeah. I think whatchamacallit, the Brazilian goalkeeper was up for. They were saying Golden Glove.
Well, I'll say this: I don't think any goalkeeper in the tournament I was like, wow, like they played.
Same.
Like, honestly, Berger was kind of disappointing. I didn't think she played bad, but I was like, this wasn't.
I think Berger had a rough one.
Yeah, I think there was. I think there
Berger
was
had a
some.
reference. Her distribution, some of the goalkeeper distribution was horrendous.
Yeah,
Like horrendous this tournament.
it felt like the floor was a lot lower though with some of the other stuff I was watching from Australia, Zambia. I'm just like, man, so I think from a goalkeeping standpoint, I think the World Cup was significantly better than the Olympics here.
Yes.
So I don't mind Nair waltzing out of this tournament with like best goalkeeper.
No, and she earns it. And the reason she earns it is because of the clutch plays.
Yeah, sure.
You're making those saves consistently in the 90 plus minute to win the game for your team. You're a goalkeeper tournament for me, and hats off to you. You play the match, and you made it as much of an impact as Sophia Smith, Trinity Rodman did.
Sure.
They could not have won this without Alyssa in the goal. So that is positive for me on Gloves Off, you guys. That's positive.
I'll say this as well. Like I love that we have this like aura over Brazil when it comes to like big time performances and big time games. Like this goes back to like 25 years now of like continuing to beat Brazil in these big time games. Like I still think back to like the scurry semifinal for the '99 World Cup, where everyone of course talks about the penalty save, but like the semifinal against Brazil, like she goes off. It has a big time game. That's obviously what goes into 07, but.
Yeah, poor Brazil. I think Marta has 3 silvers because she's run up against the U.S. all 3 times.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right with that. Sorry, Marta. I'm all right with that. It's fine. Yeah. Well, everyone, I appreciate y'all swinging back here with Gloves Off. I'm going through preseason, so we've been a bit all over the place with just finding recording time. So I appreciate everyone sticking with us here. But it's been good catching back up, Saskia, and
absolutely.
I think Nair is fortunately providing us a ton of content so far. So I'm very, very thankful to her. So hopefully we can keep that going when she returns to Chicago. But and just like, we'd have some results here and there and then some tournament performances not so great. And for me, it's always like the U.S. has to be on top. There's no sort of like, well, they medaled or they got.
It's the same as you look at men's basketball. Like or women's basketball. Like if we're taking the Olympics or any major tournament, you're just like, how can the women almost lost to France, that France almost tied at the end there, and like the world would have imploded. Like same with how can LeBron and how can Stephen Curry and those guys lose? Like, are you kidding? But the world catches up, and although all these teams won. I agree with you what you said about the U.S. team. The U.S. team has been in a rut in a sense of there's been no change of how the U.S. played, what to expect. And so the world knew it. Like, if you do this for so long, everybody's going to be like, okay, well, this is their philosophy. This is what they're going to do. This is how we're going to defend against it. And guess what? We're all just as fit as they are. So it used to be we just run people into the ground. But now, everybody caught up. And unfortunately, Vlatko went to old school and didn't have that mindset that the world had caught up. And I think, with Emma, I would love to play for Emma. Like, I think for Emma, she knew that you have to change your style. You have to change. You have to have multiple tools in your toolbox and, to come out and, play when you have to play direct or, or vertical, or when you have to, you slow the game down and you play possession. But it also used to be one way for the U.S. women's team. It's no way for the men's team. They have no identity whatsoever. So they just play to whatever anybody else is playing.
Yeah. So. I do love that the women's national team, it's like, there's either first place or like not first place. Whereas the men's, it's like this kind of granular, like, well, we did, they find these little things here. But I just love for the women's side.
Well, I'll give you an idea. I was sitting outside with Shannon and she was like, we were talking about like how reserves don't get medals unless they actually roster, and how I felt for Jane Campbell, but I had a conversation with Jane Campbell and I saw her in New York about how it's a hard road to go down because I was a reserve at one point and you don't get a medal. And but just realize you're as much a part of the team as anybody else is and stuff. And she was like, what's the other medal in the trophy case in the living room? I go, you mean my bronze medal from the 95 World Cup? She goes, wait, what? She goes, I go, yeah, I was in 2 World Cups. She goes, I didn't realize that. I go, absolutely no. I go, and you're not alone in that, Shannon. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
we're the U.S. women's national team.
Welcome back to Gloves Off. Saskia Weber is joining me back here. And Saskia, and I feel remiss to not have bring this up, but we always talk about 1999 World Cup winner, but we actually didn't talk at all about the your time with the 96 Olympic squad and how I know you had mentioned it a number of times. I just stupid me, it just hadn't put two and two together. And I didn't want to close out the Olympic chapter yet. I mean, it seems like ancient history so far, but I'm wondering if you can drag us all the way back to 96 from your perspective of kind of what was going on in the moment. Just for listeners who may not know, Scurry and Mary Harvey were the two goalkeepers that went. Mary Harvey was the 1991 World Cup winner with the U.S. And so Saskia was the alternate on that. And I'm curious from your point of view, how were you engaged? How did you stay engaged? Obviously, it's a bit of a frustrating or disappointing, maybe frustrating spot to be in. But how did you handle kind of that tournament and knowing that you weren't really in the roster, but that you could be on a moment's notice?
It was incredibly different than what it is now. And whether COVID changed that or whatever happened, but it was probably one of the hardest times in my career. And thank you for asking me that. Maybe it's why I don't really talk about it, but to be that alternate. And back then we weren't around the team. We couldn't travel with the team. We couldn't be with the team, nothing. So we were actually at Clemson University. So if for viewers that are listening, the games were in Athens, Georgia. And so, and Atlanta and everything. So the soccer was in Athens. So we actually stayed, the four of us alternates, at Clemson University with Tracy Bates-Leone and trained every day, the four of us. Together. And then we would drive to Athens for games or like maybe events or whatever, but games basically. And it was tough. It was tough. I actually had to talk with Jane Campbell about it because, I saw her, if you don't notice, viewers, if you look at, she's not on the podium. Right. So Corey Bethune and all the alternates that actually, and this was actually shocking because this didn't happen in 96, that they actually had to bring alternates up. Right. Because we had some injuries. So Corey Bethune, they got medals. Jane Campbell did not, because she was never brought onto a game day roster. And I had talked to her about that in New York, saying, listen, this is going to be hard. You don't realize it right now. And I understand that the team's going to be behind you. And yes, you're a part of the team, 100%. There will be a place in your heart and in you that this will be hard. And I'm always here for you. She kept calling me ma'am, but I'm always here for you. But it was a tough time. I'm super proud. I know I was part of that Olympic squad. I know all of that, but there is a disconnect. And I don't even think the players at the time realized that. They were all on the podium, and I had everybody. I've told this story before. I had everybody's camera in my hand back then. Camera, camera.
Yeah.
It wasn't an iPhone. There wasn't Dropbox. There wasn't anything. So yeah. I was actually had 10 cameras in my hand and was taking photos for everybody. So not the easiest time in my career. And I do know, and I might be wrong on this, I have heard before the change was made that people said no to being an alternate. It's not easy. And it's emotionally one of the hardest times in my career.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that when people simplify playing for your national team into this very simple thought of yeah, of course you would be, you would accept every call up and you would accept any position and you should, it's an honor, this, that, and they only see the positives in it. But I think this is actually one of the great examples of man, this is really tough. And I don't know what I would think, because I just don't. I'd have to get a specific example to really think about it. But I don't know what I would think about being someone turn down an alternate role, because you're going to be put in a tight spot and you don't get the medal unless you're called up. And it's not a glamorous spot to hit. So
No, and you know what I've never done is I've never asked, like Dory Staple, I've never asked Lori Choi, I've never asked the other alternates how they felt.
Yeah.
And I said this the other day in an interview. I said, I'm still talking about this today. That's how much of an impact it had on my life, like, and my career. And so I'm like, it wasn't a negative impact. It was just, you think, oh, you're an alternate, you're going to the Olympics. And I'm like, it wasn't like that, you guys. It was hard. I mean, I have an Olympic ring. I remember April Heinrich telling, I can't remember who it was, you're just as much a part of this team. Didn't tell that to me, but whatever. And that's a whole nother podcast. And I just remember, I knew that, but there was a missing piece.
Yeah, so. No, understandable.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of old coach, I've got a million things I want to run through today, but I did want to hit that, so I appreciate you kind of walking back through that time. But would also be remiss if I didn't mention Anson Dorrance's retirement, and obviously not really a goalkeeper guy, but for me, and I think this is
I have my stories.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear a little bit of it, but I just want to go ahead and list off a number of goalkeepers that have come through UNC, of which there are many, and I'm going to miss some. But just here, we have Ashlyn Harris, Siri Molinix, Shelly Finger, Marianne Johnson, Tracy.
Oh, Shelly Finger, that's right.
Jenny Branham,
like
Allie
the greatest
Wood.
Goalkeeper name ever. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got more. I got Anna Rodenberg, Claudia Dickey, Beth Huber, Lori Walker, Samantha Leshnick, Addie Gay, Brian Heberlin, Lindsay Harris, Emmy Allen, who's currently a pro as well. I mean, and that's just scratching the surface. And so there's many.
You got Lori Walker in there. I love that.
Yeah. But there's obviously so many that have come through, and I think there's probably a case to be made for
the best. It's the best.
Yeah, I feel like UNC could also be synonymous with goalkeepers. If you want to,
I mean, they trump. Honestly, I know I joke about Rutgers as goalkeeper U, but yes, UNC trumps. You read that list off, and those names are just incredible goalkeepers, and I'm proud to have trained and played with a lot of them. Yeah, wow. I didn't even realize some of them actually. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah. When you think, it's not that many years since.
I'll tell you a story about Anson. So for goalkeeping. Yeah. So I was the number one goalkeeper recruit that out of high school, that high school graduation. And I was in the same class as Julie Foudy, as Christine Lilly, as Mia Hamm, Rita Tower. Like there weren't so many scholarships to go around. And I was on the radar to go to UNC, talk to Anson and everything. And Lori was there. And I knew I'd sit. And Anson had said that, you're going to sit behind Lori. And nobody gets a full scholarship at that time to UNC because, even though Title IX had hit and stuff, that it was like, well, we split the scholarships. Everybody did that. You split the scholarships, and stuff. And so I'm just like, economically for my family and stuff like that, when I'm getting full rides offers from other schools and everything, I have to take that into consideration. And I don't want to sit. And, there was a point in my career, and not many people know this. I'm Rutgers through and through, but there was a point in my career that I looked to transfer from Rutgers. And the reason was because I wanted to be around another level of players that were playing to go pro, that were playing to be that were on the national team and everything like that. And I didn't feel like I had that at Rutgers at the time. Sorry, Rutgers, but that's the truth. And I remember getting on the phone. I was allowed permission to talk to Anson. And I remember getting on the phone with him, and he said to me, I can't give you what you're getting at Rutgers. And he goes, you want to take your career to the next level. You're already on the national team, like everything. He goes, you see 12 shots a game. You make 12 saves a game. You might make 12 saves in a season here at UNC.
Yeah.
And he goes, and the experience that you're getting running that defense and seeing situations that I can't even make happen, he goes, it's priceless. And that's what's going to keep you on the national team and put you in World Cups. And I didn't transfer.
Yeah. That's a fascinating story. And I feel like I went through his press conference, and I feel like that really lines up with he has this kind of almost insane balance of competitiveness but pragmaticness at the same time. That's a great example where like he understands what's going on. And it's not, I mean, you can go back through and there's a number of goalkeepers that played at UNC that I didn't read off that, very talented. Obviously they got to UNC, but they didn't go anywhere after that. And I always kind of wonder, it's like, man, like, when you go to UNC and you see 12 shots in a season, how do you really grow? Like you certainly grow in certain areas, and the training environment would be intense. That'd be great. But I think, like, to Anson's point, like what you're getting on the season of like really being like
involved.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to ask yourself, look, Tracy Noonan is, obviously one of my teammates and a good friend of mine. I just talked to her the other day and stuff. And Tracy's a phenomenal goalkeeper, and obviously one of our 99ers and everything. But there is a difference. Like I saw everything, man, like everything you could possibly imagine. And when Anson had said that to me, he's just like, look, we could go maybe unscored on and undefeated. But what does that do for your future? And whether that was placating and Anson didn't want me to come to the U.S., I don't know, right? But all my friends, I don't know. But I took that seriously. I really did. And one of my favorite, I'm sure everybody knows this, is I can curse on this, or maybe I can't. But
Mike will take care of it.
Saskia, you've got potential, but that potential means you're not shit now. Anson was the first coach in my career, in my life, that like I didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to disappoint Charlie. I get that, but that was in college. I was already in the national team mix before I went to Rutgers. And it wasn't this fear. It was this education I had never had. And I walked into my very first national team meeting. I walked in right on time, right? So we're in a hotel. So I walk in right when the meeting's supposed to start. Everybody's already sitting there. They're already on the chalkboard. Yes, guys, chalkboard. They're already on the chalkboard. And everybody paused. And I walked in. I'm like, I'm right on time. And Anson said, and everybody turned around and said, early's on time is late is unacceptable. And I have never forgotten that a day in my life. And I am always early to everything. I am always on time. But that set a tone for me in my career. And sitting there and being taught how to organize the weak side and what my role is as a goalkeeper and what he expects out of me, to the point that I could sit in that room and just go like, I'm supposed to do this, that, and the other. Make sure Lil comes back on the weak side if this is going up. And he's incredible. So
yeah. I think the thing I really appreciated from his press conference specifically was the sort of raising the standard. And not that he's the only coach to ever do this, of course, but certainly one of the more notable ones. But to raise the standard, to not just perform and not just try hard, but to like raise the standard to kicking people's ass. That was something he said all the time. And I think that really lines up with that story just in general with everything that surrounds him. Of there was always this like unquenchable drive for like a little bit more and to push. And
but I think that he also set a precedence that was never set before in the sense of fitness, right?
Yeah.
So you always knew North Carolina, every single player on that team could run you into the ground, right? Fitness was paramount.
Yeah.
And a high school teammate, I was a freshman, she was a senior, big girl on campus, Bowie Lockwood, actually went to UNC. She was recruited by Anson out of Princeton High and stuff, and couldn't. Love you, Boo. You're my friend. You're my sister, and Gwen is your sister, is my sister. But Bowie struggled with that. And I struggled with that. And I used to be more worried about going into national team camp and passing Anson's fitness than I was about playing goalkeeper. Like I knew I could play goalkeeper, wasn't sure if I could run the same fitness,
Yeah.
So, And that set that precedent for a very long time that the U.S. national team could run anybody into the ground. And that's why they dominated for so long. Well, now the world's caught up. Everybody's fit, and so that changed. But he set those precedents. He did.
Yeah. No, and I think it still echoes out now. And the thing we'll end with here, it'll definitely hit on that a bit. But I'm going to save that little nugget before we get there. But no, there's a number of things that he, for not being a goalkeeper, influenced a lot. And it's something that it feels odd that,
Well, also remember he brought in Tony DeCicco.
Well, and I was going to say, yeah, like I would love to hear an Anson story from DeCicco's point of view of just what that was like, because that's, I mean, everything I've heard about personality wise, like
he allowed Tony to run the goalkeepers. He didn't put a toe in that from my knowledge, like in my face in practice. Tony was our coach.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, and two very distinct coaches, I'll say as well. Not that Tony was a pushover, but yeah, I think
Tony is the best. I love him. I miss him. So.
Well, a number of things we can also cover today, but I did want to hit a little bit of the college season. We're already very early in, and I wanted to show kind of the highs and lows. And I don't really want to break down every little moment in these clips. I've got 2 clips here, but I did kind of want to. I think it's worth giving a bit of the scope of like what is D1 ball and what that really includes, and what are the positives, what are the negatives. And I saw these clips amongst others, and they really stood out to me. And so this is we'll start with the low end here. And very talented goalkeeper. This is Iowa's goalkeeper, graduate student goalkeeper, Macy Inniking, who is about to get lobbed here from about 40 yards out. And this is really interesting for me to see where this isn't just any D1 goalkeeper. This isn't any Big Ten goalkeeper. This is the Herman Trophy watch list goalkeeper. And for me, it's like, okay, there's a lot of things we can take away from this, but I think the main thing, and this is me kind of zooming out a bit, is like this even happens to our top goalkeepers of like, and it's simple because we kind of know what's going to happen this play. But this is one of those things where it's like you can kind of miss the forest through the trees sort of thing of like you can.
Yeah, but this was Western Michigan.
This is Mason. Yeah, Western Michigan.
Western Michigan. This is scouting, 100%, because Western Michigan knew that she's a high off her line. She never looks up. She doesn't. Maybe takes a little peek there, but this is, guys. If you have a chance, if you have a moment, take a shot from distance. Because she might be caught off her line. And she is. And here's the deal. I don't really think she's in a bad position. This is what, 50 yards out?
I mean, off that angle, like it's close to. Yeah, it's very.
So she shouldn't be on her line, right? Because, okay, hypothetically right now, if number 5 or 9 or whatever it is slots that ball onto that oncoming runner, who's like on the far right side, if she slots that ball, now you're supposed to be off your line so you can eat that up, right?
Yep.
So I'm not really saying she's in a wrong position, but what I'm saying is she's flat and she has to know she can get chipped at any time.
Yeah. This is one of those things that's like, it's frustrating to watch because I know she's a good goalkeeper, but I think we all can see this. It's like that. It's not a great goal to give up. But this is one of those things. It's like, look, you can be trying to, support your back line and look to step up to help with the possession and whatnot and look for the through ball. But at the end of the day, you got to keep the ball in the net. And so for me, it's a bit of a frustrating goal to see when, again, she's getting kind of lost of like thinking about this with that and then missing the paramount issue of, hey, someone might shoot it. Like someone might
that's a good point. And that's a good point. And so she has to realize when that touch goes into space that she's like, I know this is 50 yards out, but I'm off my line. Yeah. So she's not retreating at this point. And you have to realize she's totally free and I am vulnerable. I'm in no man's land. She's totally in no man's land. She's at the PK spot.
Yeah, I mean that's like classic, like not respecting your opponent right there from Anakin. Who, we'll see. I feel like the last few years it's been highs are high, sometimes the lows feel a bit low. So be
We'll
really
see.
curious. Again, Herman Trophy, watch this goalkeeper. This is no slouch of a goalkeeper here, and she's got plenty of time for us.
So they brought the Herman Trophy back for goalkeepers.
Well, so they do
that went away for a while.
Oh, wait, sorry. What do you mean?
So Brad Friedel and myself
were the specific goalkeeper award
from the Herman and everything. So, and then they stopped doing that. So then it was just player.
Yeah, it was something. It was something, a specific name about it. I forget. I'd have to look it up. But
Missouri Athletic Club.
Yeah. They were rolling it for a bit, and then for some reason they
stopped the goalkeepers. They just did field players. But
I didn't know they brought it back. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it. Brad Friedel and I were, I think, one of the last ones to get it.
Yeah, there you go. That's good company. So we'll take the positive here. So this is Auburn in a big win over Clemson, actually. But this is Maddie Prohaska, who, I'll be honest, when I released my senior rank or my college rankings earlier this month, I knew of Maddie and knew of Maddie's game. Thought she was okay, and I saw this save, and I tweeted this today. This is the first save I've seen this fall where I said, "Whoa!" Like, this is, for me, I was really excited to see this, not just in general, but also from a goalkeeper that I feel like has already set off to a good start here.
It's a great save.
Big stretch. And I think there's a lot of things you can break down about this, and that. But I think this is one of those things, like, unlike the previous play, she's understanding the paramount issue of, hey, this person might take a chance on goal. And, the shot from where they're shooting from, like, maybe they could take another touch in, maybe they could slot the ball. And there's all these things goalkeepers can be thinking about. But she finds herself where she wants to get to and preps herself where she can really stretch out. She's not just falling over. She's not diving off her back foot. This is a great example of keep the ball out of the net.
Well, she also gives herself that depth, right? So she allows herself to give herself depth in goal. Doesn't stay. She could have stayed at the 6, right? Which would have been a mistake, right? So she gives herself some depth. Then, like you said, she balances herself. Her body weight's forward, and she makes a tip. That's great goalkeeping.
Yeah, my only complaint is she gets like one compliment on the play. Like, this is save of the season so far from me, and like she gets one person. Like, you're in a 1-0 game. Like, defense, come on, like go support your goalkeeper a bit more here. I don't, you're waltzing past her. Like, this is against a number 5 season. Like, yeah, she's keeping you in the game there.
Good on her.
Which is very good, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So last thing for me.
You have a surprise.
A bit of a surprise here. So I was trying to think. It's like, man, we do all this critical stuff, and we did it today.
Wait. I did want to ask you.
Oh.
In the CONCACAF Cup, whatever it was, there was some horrendous goalkeeping, and we have to go over that next week. There was such bad goalkeeping that I sat there going, this is why goalkeepers don't get respect. Like, that's all I was thinking. This is not even ECNL. This is like AYSO. I stuck my kid in the goal because they,
they didn't look like they wanted to be there.
It was, what I'm talking about. It was the most horrible goalkeeping I have seen in a very long time, and I want to cover it next week.
I'll bring it up. I'm glad you said it. When I saw it, I was of the opposite one. I was like, I was
mortified
about this. Like, I was
mortified.
It was so bad. But I think they kind of go through, like, their tears. Like, we just went over Macy and King's goal there, but like, that's gonna seem worlds apart.
No, this is gonna seem like I stuck my 3.5-year-old granddaughter in the goal that is too big for her, and she didn't care.
Yeah,
it's basically what you're gonna see, and I was actually angry about it.
Yeah,
I was actually angry about it. I was like,
when it's like the classic, like, they're a tall goalkeeper, and you could think, like, I'm sure there's a 5'0" goalkeeper that would have been thrilled to be in there and done a way better job. And yeah, they're not going to cover the whole goal, but they would have been way better.
Make an effort.
Make an effort. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
All right, last thing here. We'll hit that next week. All right, so we're gonna roll back to 2002.
Oh no!
And we're gonna take a look at the Philadelphia Charger. Now, I spent some time on this, but so my thought is for a few things.
Sure.
First of all, we spend a lot of time talking about other goalkeepers and the highs and low. And so I thought it's like, okay, well, what better game to do than of someone who's actually with us here that we could talk about it. So I don't want to talk about so much of like the right and wrong because I'm more curious in hearing a bit of the differences, what was happening then to now. I mean, we can definitely go in some of the mistakes or positives, whatever. But there's definitely some notable stuff you're doing in here that is like either gone by the wayside for the better or for worse. And so I'd be curious just to hear a little bit from your perspective on some of this. Unfortunately,
do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Let me see what this is.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I'll say this: the face you're given right now, and if you can tell the goals against average of 2.58, I think sums up a bit of the season that you are having with the Philadelphia Charge. This is the 2002 Philadelphia Charge versus the New York Power. This is like the for our younger listeners. This is the pre NWSL league that came and went. This is in some sense ancient history, but it's also, as I'm watching it, feels very relevant in a lot of ways of kind of what's going on. And you get shelled this game. So that 2.58 is always a team stat for me, and we'll see it a bit here as we go on. So I'm just going to play this out. This is about 4 minutes long here, so we'll just roll it through. If I need to rewind a bit, this is New Mexico alum Melissa Moore in the opposite net of you, I believe. Rosters here. You mentioned Charlie, your old coach there.
I ended up finishing. I ended up finishing my career with New York.
Yeah. Well, I'll say also, so as we just go through, and I can rewind some of this stuff, but I don't think you received one back pass in the game. A bit of a different time.
But it wasn't. What is this? What is everybody doing right now? It wasn't how you played. You didn't give a goalkeeper back pass.
Yeah. Well, and even I put this clip in here. It's just a bunch of clips I pulled in. This clip I put in just to give an idea of like this was if the ball got in the box, it was kind of a ferocious time where I don't feel like you see this tenacity anymore in the box. Everyone is bumping into each other. This is the first, 19 minutes into the game at that point. I mean, the game's already very chaotic. There's a lot of moving pieces. You're yelling.
Yeah, and you're not getting. Yeah, I'm yelling at the ref because you're not getting calls for getting pushed, for getting everything, and I'm like, nobody cares.
Yeah. I will say goal kick. I thought we're in a pretty good spot. You definitely could hit a farther goal kick than Brianna Scurry for what it's worth.
Sucked at goal kicks. I will admit.
Well, I'll say this: you could get. I mean, Scurry didn't really.
And that's, by the way, that's on turf.
Yeah, that's a very thin turf as well.
So that's turf, like concrete turf.
Yeah.
So just so you know. Go ahead.
Some of the stuff feels pretty familiar, right? It's a ball into the box here, making yourself big. We'll see another play here. This is, I'm pretty sure, from a VHS recording. The chaoticness was something that really stood out to me on this. And again, we're still first half here, and you're already seeing a number of chances in your own 18.
This is my life.
Yeah. Coming off your line, and this is probably one of the big highlights for me is a nice drop kick. We don't see that anymore. I
love my drop kick.
Drop kicks are a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, I like the backspin on the drop kick.
Yeah.
Nice hand, Sask.
Yeah.
I like the backspin on the drop kick because it drops, and when it drops, if you hit it right and it drops onto your player, it runs into their line, so they can control it easily.
Yeah, it's a pretty soft drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands on this next clip. Yeah, I was very impressive. Kind of you pulling this in.
My entire life is about no rebounds.
That's right. It's a good little save there. Always wanted to come quick off her line. I think that's a bit of and you can maybe weigh in a bit on this more, but I feel like this is.
Well, here's the deal: if I let her get that ball, I'm done. Right?
Well, okay. You say that. I think a lot of goalkeepers choose to sit in now. I think like late 90s, early 2000s, like you're seeing every goalkeeper run down this ball. I mean, she's not really in the 18. Like a lot of modern goalkeepers are going to wait for that touch to then go in.
And I knew her as a caliber of player, and I'm like, I gotta get here. Yep. And I'm already out. So if I let her get another touch, I'm in no man's land. Yep. So I don't give a shit what I do. Like, let's just get that next touch somehow.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's Lori Fair.
Yeah, good little player there. Yeah, putting pressure on you here. Again, a lot of crowd in the goalkeeper.
No, that's Ronnie Fair. Sorry.
Is that right? Okay.
Right. Too far near post, Sask.
Yeah. We'll see a few more of those, actually.
I'm too far near post.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Coming out. Love a throw. Now, we don't connect off it, but I will give you credit on the distance. Like, that ball's going to easily get to midfield, which, again, I don't think – you don't see a lot of goalkeepers going for a big throw.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I loved my throw, and I had a throw. I could one hop to midfield. I will tell you right now, I can't even throw a tennis ball anymore because my shoulder is so thrown out.
Yeah.
But that's from playing baseball, Little League.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I love throwing. I love throwing more than anything. All right, Sask?
Anyway, a little, and I think this is again part of the era.
Too far near post, Nair. You can yell at me. Too far near post.
Well, I think this is kind of the standard, right? It's not just you. It's like I feel like every goalkeeper, and we'll see another couple plays here. Like they find the spot here. It's a good stretch out from you, but think how much easier it is, and it's easy for.
I could have held that had I been in the right position.
Yeah.
100%. Guys, I'll beat myself up. I'm like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, but every goalkeeper is playing like that at this time. Like that's something that like you just didn't get beat near post. It wasn't an option. You just sat on.
No, that's all you were told.
Yeah.
Do not get beat near post. Do not get beat near post. Laid off my line here, and I have too deep of a position.
Yeah, it seemed like you got banged up a little bit on the play as well.
Yeah, that's fine, but I'm too deep. My starting position's too deep, so I should have either held or had a higher starting position, then I could come and collected this.
Yeah.
That's offsides.
Big save there. That's probably save of the game for me there. That's a tough one here. This is their opening goal here, and again, I mean,
and I'm on my heels.
Yeah, I feel like this is a bit of like at some point the dam's gonna break. I mean, how many chances did they have?
Yeah, but I'm on my heels. I end up on my ass. Like I'm on my heels here. So my set position is on my heels. Had I stayed big, look, I'm gonna be my worst critic as well. Had I stayed big with weight forward, I might have been able to get like a kick to this or something like that. Maybe yes, maybe not. Also, had I read that ball earlier, maybe I would have been able to cut that off. So you close your space while the ball's in transition. Yeah. So I could have done better there. I told you I will beat myself up.
No, it's good. It's good. It's just an interesting lens to think about, because think if you were weighing in on this, I mean, 20 years ago, like I think the commentary is a bit different, but now it's like we kind of have the answers in some sense on this sort of stuff. So it's very interesting. This is the second goal here. Not much you can do on it.
No, it's nothing I can do.
Yeah. Again, we can see.
Another one. But do you see? But here you're right in the sense that everything was near post. And so that came from the genre of you, and I believe a listener was brought up in that transition as well. You do not give up anything near post. Nowadays, I'm like, Saskia, your athleticism, you've got to be a step more central. You've got to step B. You can get to the near post.
Yeah.
You know? And to the point that in training, you would touch the post.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? You'd be like, move over, touch the post, make the save. Touch the post, make the save.
It's like your shoulders almost on it to start. I think like you're kind of leaning into it a bit. Like you're so protective of it. Yeah.
I don't even know how I saved that.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's pure athleticism. Yeah. Guys, I'm not ringing my bell, but I'm like, holy crap. That was just get the paw to it. Too far near post again.
Yeah.
And see, the whole thing there is too far near post. And had I been more central in today's game, maybe I get across and this is a save because it's too much of a distance to cover.
Yeah.
I do know how to play goalkeeper. Oh, okay, Bill.
I mean, look, I'll say this: the final scene here, that like the look you have on your face. I wasn't familiar with this player here. She scores 2 on you.
Pichon, the French
Pichon.
player.
Yeah. It's nice little bracelet. That little like look where you're like, I'm so over this. Like,
I know defense wasn't marking up.
Yeah.
I was getting the crap kicked out of me. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what my state like. It is what it is, and I transferred to New York.
Yeah. No, and
Look, I will tell everybody, I look back on my games and I'm an analyst now. I can break stuff down. There are times I absolutely could have been a better goalkeeper, and my positioning could have been better. My whatever distribution, everything could be better. But if you can't criticize yourself and if you can't judge yourself, then how dare you judge others? So for me, I will sit here and tell everybody, yeah, bring it. You can say, Saskia, you're too far near post. Yeah, I am. And now I'm telling you, don't be too far near post, because that's what happens.
Well, I think like there is something that I do miss about kind of turn of the century goalkeeping, where it was leaning a bit more into vibe it out, find what works for you. Whereas now it feels very overly rigid for a lot of goalkeepers, where they treat it like a chess game, like this is the right answer. Where that for me, it's the middle ground of like, okay, you've got to play some percentages, but you don't want to be rigid. That one save you have where you kind of like jump and then you come back and bat it out. Yes, we can critique it, this and that, but at the end of the day, like you're able to like solve things as they're kind of going wrong. Where I think a lot of goalkeepers now struggle, where something goes wrong, they're like, well, I don't know what to do. It's not in the blueprint of what I've been given.
Right.
So it's I'm always slow to like critique stuff that happened in the past, especially something.
No, you're fine. No, it's fine. And for me, it was a different time, a different game. But like I said, if you're able to look back, and I've seen videos, I've seen everything. I mean, I got to where I was because I kept the ball in net, not in that game, but I was a good goalkeeper, and I know that. But you have to be able to be critical of yourself. And that's why when I say, listen, I know fans out there, I'm talking about Nair, and everybody's like, oh, but Nair is a god. But if Nair was sitting here with me right now, she'd say, you know what? I was too far near post too. Or you know what? I could have done better on this too. Like, I'm not telling Didi Harasheets, I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And I'm not telling myself anything I don't know. It's all
well,
good.
there's a reason why people get to the elite level, and it's not from hiding from the problem. It's actually quite the opposite. It's looking it straight in the face and saying, okay, that's what it is. That's what the mistake is, and not looking away from it. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's square.
All right. Well, now I'm going to have to call Jen Cooper and do a deep dive into you.
Oh, good luck. There's not much video out there, and
I will put my investigators on it. And
I know where it is. So I'm just like, do I go ahead and get ahead of this? I don't know. I mean,
I don't mind. I love that you brought that up, and actually, I can't wait to share it with my family because, before that stuff started getting archived, I really don't have a lot of footage, and that's awesome.
Yeah. So. No, I think we can talk like all the UNC names. Like for me, it's like, man, the awards and stuff, that's great. But like, especially where people's minds are these days, like the video is just like, it's king. Like if you can see someone, like the awards are irrelevant. Like if you can see what someone did, like, I mean, that's awesome. You know? So no, I thank you for letting me surprise you with that.
I love it. All right, get out of here.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week or next recording, whenever we get to it.
Yeah.
Mike, good luck editing this one with all the cursing we had. Otherwise, hey, we'll see you on all the platforms here. I'm Bill. This is Saskia. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.